My wonderful listeners, welcome back to another special moment here on the Languages Pedagogy Podcast, your cozy little corner where passion, science, and heart come together to make language learning not just a goal, but a way of life. Today, I'm not sitting here alone. I'm joined by an extraordinary educator, a radiant mind, and dear colleague. This is Renzo Perucca, who many know in China as the inspiring James, I would say. Renzo is not just a teacher, he's a passionate architect of habits, a builder of dreams through discipline and love for the process. His journey, like so many of ours, is a testament to how small actions repeated daily can lead to breathtaking achievements. In this two-part conversation, we will dive deep, hand in hand, into the science of habit formation and explore how to make language learning an effortless part of your daily rhythm. We'll share personal experiences, scientific facts, psychological insights, and maybe most importantly, the real struggles, the sweet victories we've lived along the way. So, whether you are on your morning walk, cozy under your favorite blanket, or sipping your coffee at sunrise, settle in. Let's embark on this journey together. And by the end, you might just find that the habits you've been dreaming of are much closer than you think. Alright, so without further ado, let's welcome Renzo. And let's get started. Welcome, James, to the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. I'm really happy to have you over here. We've been actually talking a little bit, but why don't
hmm
we just start with something coming out from yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Uh, Funny thing, even though I go by James here in China, my name is Renzo. My first years living in China as an English teacher, I just said, "Hey everyone, my name is Renzo. I'm an English teacher." But a lot of my coworkers at the time, they said, maybe Renzo, it's difficult to pronounce, so you can choose a random name. Now, being the gamer that I am, the first name that jumped to my head was James. Um, some people who may like Silent Hill will know that reference, like will get that reference. But
Oh,
I go by James these days. I would say like my close friends would call me Renzo, even the ones from here. They kind of know that
oh,
story.
oh, well, I didn't know. So, okay, good to know that. That's pretty cool. So, Renzo, you've been actually just working. I call you Renzo, right? Or is it okay,
hmm
James?
Both are fine.
Okay. So Renzo, well, one of the things that actually caught my attention is that you're also an English teacher, and as you said right
hmm
now, you're teaching in China. So that's gonna be pretty good actually to dive deep into that world there and maybe comparing it
Absolutely.
a little bit with what happened back in our countries, back in the West, because education actually changes, right?
hmm
So let's go deep dive into this perspective, but let's start with the main topic today.
hmm
The main topic today, it's something that it goes a little bit deep. It goes actually a little bit beyond what is uh English itself. It goes in a
hmm
psychological roots, what is memorization or habit formation.
Right.
So why
So
don't we just start with that?
let's dive into it. So this is a topic that has fascinated me. And it's interesting because in the field of education, this is something that you see effectively in classes, and you see that when either parents or students already have a kind of habit, or they're likely to form habits. Now, that's something that I want to get into it later, but basically, people who form habits will be better at forming habits and keeping habits. It's
Oh,
like it's super meta in the sense that if you already have a pattern in which you like to have habits for certain things that you do every day, then evidently it'll be easier for you to maintain them. Some of them, of course. Um, Now, in terms of language learning, what I find interesting is that um, everybody has different ways of learning languages, but the psychology is basically the same. Wouldn't you agree?
Of course. The psychological aspect of making this, I mean, forming this type of a loop, let's say like that, because it's kind of a loop of memorizing or creating a habit. Everything
Hmm.
actually just started with the brain. I think also started from there. That's why this type of habit formation is quite the same in every single aspect of society or in any aspect of any subject or whatever. Because everything is
Hmm.
about a loop. It's about a dopamine. It's about that. It's more like neurological there. And it happens a lot also in language learning. And that's why
Mm,
some of the apps that we're going to be talking a lot about that as well, some of the apps roots start from there. Rote
great.
memorization to create some habits
Hey,
because they actually
listeners
understood
can't see
something.
us, but I'm smiling because I know exactly where you're going and I'm super excited. I'm super excited. I can sort of see where you're going with this. Yes. In terms of building routines, I think it's important to understand that if learning a language is not easy for everyone, um, I think
Definitely.
everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. For me, it's so interesting to know that I'm a married man, and it's funny. My wife and I, uh, you know, we met each other about 7 years ago, but we had lived almost in the same neighborhood. We come from the same country. We have very similar taste in I guess music, video games, all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
but we couldn't be more different when it comes to our skills. She's an avid reader. She can read books like nobody, like it's nobody's business. And you give me a book, it'll take me months, unless it's a research paper, which by now I'm used to. So it's interesting because habits help you create skills, and if the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And I wanted to bring up a study that I have heard every teacher quote over and over again, which is everyone says, "Oh, it takes about 70 days or 66 days to to
Ooh.
to form a habit." I knew it. I knew you were gonna go there, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Go ahead.
it's interesting because everybody who quotes that, and including me until very recently,
Yeah,
um, we need to understand that learning languages and speaking languages or writing and reading, they are different skills that have different difficulties according to who you are as a learner. But this study didn't really delve into that. It's more about creating habits such as proper eating and drinking water, which were like the easiest ones, whereas like exercising, which takes a lot more effort, right?
exactly.
So
That's
the amount
something
of
different.
effort that you put into these habits makes a whole world of difference between one habit and the other.
Exactly. And that's one of the points, that's when I actually was calling it like the loop, the dopamine loop over there, It's like if you actually start like creating your habit, and even though you actually mentioned this 66 days and all that, one of the myth
Hmm.
is that in 21 days you can become
21
you can
days.
yeah, that's the myth. Actually, people know that I don't know why they're actually just coming out with this idea that 21 days you do it for 21 day and you immediately or instantly create a habit. But I don't know actually
Mm,
where this idea come from because I think 21 days is a total myth. I don't know if
absolutely.
you've actually gone through that or check about it, but I saw it 21 days.
Couldn't agree more. I first of all, the study I read mentioned 66 days, and that's only the median, whereas sorry, the average. Whereas the fastest they saw in the study was 18 days, and the slowest was 254 days. So and I think I get the point that saying 21 days is very misleading, and for people who want to learn languages, please consider that everybody's different, and please reassure yourself and your students, if you have them, that it may not always be smooth sailing after 21 days. You're going to have days in which, and of course we're going to mention this, but Duolingo will remind you if you missed a day, and that's at this point, the more time you have invested, it feels like, I missed the day, but it's okay. It's totally okay. Even the same study mentions that just because you didn't keep a habit for one day doesn't mean that you're going to break all the progress that you had done before.
Well, that's a good point. Again, that's how they actually understood. They really understood how the brain works. And everything
Hmm.
is neurological there. Neuropsychology goes over there, just to create that thing in their mind and just like, oh no, I stop it. I'm gonna lose it.
Mm.
That's how they do it.
Well, on the neurological aspect, I think a simplification would be that all your synapses and all these connections that your brain has, it you have to think about it. It's like building a road. It doesn't take, you can't do that overnight, but once that road has been built, you can continue using it. And if you don't use it for one day, nothing's going to happen. It does need
Exactly.
maintenance, but that path, that, as you call it, like a neural path, it exists. That connection exists.
Exactly. And this is part of all this issue. I really wanted to talk this topic with you because I can see it actually you really know about what happens over here. And also, if you actually take a look at the other aspect, let's go to this aspect that actually I was talking with another teacher about it. We were
Hmm.
talking about this fluency in 3 months,
Hmm.
you know? So they, what are they doing? What they're actually doing there is that they're trying to create a habit and they're trying to manipulate the brain just to make you feel that you can do it
Mm.
and trying to increase the dopamine if you can actually do it in 3 months. And they will say that if you do it in 3 months, you will become like that just to
Hmm.
create that habit.
Uh, Sorry, I want to ask, where does the dopamine come into the equation here?
The
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 dopamine
dopamine
of what?
the thing is that the dopamine, the neurotransmitter, is the one that actually creates that feeling of, oh, I did it.
Ah, the sense of achievement. Okay,
Exactly.
I see what you
That's
mean.
the dopamine. Yeah. The dopamine actually comes
Mm.
here just like to make you feel that you did it. That
Hmm.
satisfaction. Oh, I did it
Right.
today. Tomorrow I have to do it again so I can feel the same way.
Mm. Hmm.
That's the loop. And that's the loop that actually these type of apps like Duolingo or these other big name school names that actually just do it like that, just to create that dopamine and make it like people believe that they can become fluent or they can learn faster or something like that. I
Well, I
think
would
this
say
is
that
also part of it.
depends on the product that you're using, because courses are for profit. I mean, I
Yeah.
think everything is for profit, but I think intention is very important. If you are selling a course like, oh, you can achieve fluency in 3 months, okay, that is a bold statement, and I think it's um, if you're making that as a promise, like something that you can evaluate by the end of the course and say, hey, I feel fluent in 3 months. I think dopamine is going to take a backseat, and profits, and I guess accountability is very important. In the case of people who want to learn by themselves, yeah, okay, dopamine is important, but I think having an intention, like having a purpose of why you're doing this, will help you keep the motivation, because there's a never-ending cycle between motivation and your approach to language.
So then it takes me actually to one question. What's the
Mm.
difference between motivation, discipline, and habit?
Oh, I love that question. Let me think about it for a second. Motivation, discipline, and
Motivation, discipline, and habit.
okay.
Because the three of them
So,
sounds like quite the same, right? Motivation, discipline, habit, but
okay, I
there's
feel
something
very
that changes
passionate about
there.
motivation. So I can say that's the one that, if, and by the way, I'm just going to be honest here to all your listeners. I don't have the answer, but I can give you my answer. Motivation is definitely the one that it's the odd one out. That's the one that I would say has connection to the other two, but I would not get them confused. Motivation can be as a definition anything that drives you to do something. But in the field of education and for us teachers, you have to really understand the difference between intrinsic and
And
extrinsic
extrinsic
motivation.
motivation. Exactly.
To simplify this, basically, are you doing this for a personal gain or for the sense of achievement? Are you looking to get a salary raise at your job, or are you looking to learn a language because you think it makes you feel better, or even something like I would call this intrinsic, even if it's something to like make friends of people who speak that language, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I would say motivation is the odd one out, and I'm going to set that one aside mentally. The other two you said were discipline
Yeah.
and
Discipline and habit.
discipline and habit. I would say habit is more likely the result, whereas discipline is what do you do? What is the accountability that you take to make sure that this habit is kept? Not created
Mm.
necessarily, but rather kept. So I would say discipline is, okay, what do I do? Do I have a specific time every day in which I do this? How do I do this? Do I have a notebook? Do I have my notes? Do I have somebody that I can practice my fluency with?
So
And
discipline would be the constancy. I mean, how constant you are in doing something.
rather it's more to me, I would say discipline is the strategy and the tools that you use.
And this episode is sponsored by Pro Club Languages at MikeEnglishOnline.com, where learning has no limits. Are you ready to take your language skills, teaching career, or professional growth to the next level? Whether you're looking to master a new language, prepare for international exams, or enhance your teaching expertise, Pro Club Languages is here to help. At MyEnglishOnline.com, we offer language learning for all levels and ages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and more. English for specific purposes: business, academic, travel, and professional communication. International exams preparation: IELTS, TOEFL, CEFR, and beyond. But that's not all. If you're an educator, trainer, or aspiring teacher, we also provide workshops and seminars on pedagogy, educational psychology, motivation, classroom strategies, and innovative teaching techniques. Teacher training programs to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of education. Expert insights on language acquisition, student engagement, and modern teaching methodologies. At Broad Club Languages, we don't just teach, we empower, inspire, and transform. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or a professional, we help you unlock opportunities, confidence, and success. Visit MikeEnglishOnline.com today and start your journey toward mastery, because learning is a lifelong adventure, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Ready to level up? Click the link in the description and join Pro Club Languages today.
How you take
Uh-huh.
accountability by using these tools and your strategies.
Yeah.
And I would say the routine is the product. And you can put a name on it. You can say, okay, I practice every day, but even though it is your routine, it's also the final product.
Yeah, can be, can be. Well, I like your answer. I mean, the point is not, I don't want you to tell me exactly scientifically prove what's the difference between
No, sure.
motivation, discipline, and habit, but your point of view, it's actually what I really want. Because as
Hmm.
teachers, we all actually, we might actually have some things that are quite the same, but
Hmm.
we might actually change some of them. And that's your perspective. And I totally agree with your perspective as well. Motivation, discipline, habit. What's the difference? Well, I prefer to use discipline more than motivation. If you actually are a disciplined person, you definitely can actually achieve anything.
But if you,
Whereas
sorry, go ahead.
motivation,
Uh-huh.
oh, today I'm motivated, but tomorrow I don't feel like it. I don't know. Tomorrow I want to do something
Okay.
else. And then your motivation can actually go fading away a little bit. But then the next day you feel motivated and you do it again. So
Hmm.
motivation actually it fluctuates a lot, whereas discipline it's something constant. It's there.
Mm.
What do you say?
I have um I have some mixed feelings about that. I see motivation. To me, motivation is such an important thing on my everyday life because most teachers, I would assume, we use extrinsic motivation to entice children to want to speak, not to speak, but rather to want to speak.
Mm,
And I think that difference is quite palpable. You know, you can tell the difference
yeah.
between wanting to speak and just speaking for the sake of a present. But discipline to me sounds like something that you can create, that you can cultivate. Okay, I'm going to simplify this. If you're a parent, you
Mhm.
can give discipline to your kids for them to study or practice every day, but you cannot teach them motivation.
Exactly.
Motivation, or I would say intrinsic, comes from you and yourself alone. This is not something, and this is why for teachers, it's so difficult to to get kids to want to learn a language
Mhm.
because they don't know why they're there. They're just there because their parents paid for it, right? But
Well,
it could be
that's a
a
good
beautiful
point.
thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's a good point. But I think we're putting everything into a box. Let's take motivation and put him into the kids box.
Hmm.
But what about as an adult? Let's put discipline into an adult box because then
Mm.
we got it like that. Because as an adult, I want to go to the gym. I'll start working out, but tomorrow I don't feel like it. I don't feel motivated to go.
Okay, right.
But
I
that's
think what
a little bit different
this
there.
is something I wanted to mention. I think you may maybe motivation and drive are different things. Your motivation can dwindle for sure.
Mhm.
But I would call that drive, not motivation per se. I think your motivation is something that you determine the moment as an adult why you want to do something. I don't know a lot of people that start learning a language just because. I am one of them, but it's because I really like languages. And I'll give you an example. Um, in January of this year, I went to see my dad in Italy. Now, my dad is not Italian. We do have an Italian name and last name. Uh, but I prepared for this trip knowing that my dad wouldn't be able to speak. So I practiced on Duolingo for about 5 months or so.
Wow.
I had the discipline to do this every day, and I started listening to music in Italian, even though it's kind of silly, but I do like to look for the lyric. I like to check the lyrics and see what I can use in my everyday life. That is
Yeah.
what I would call my discipline. But my motivation was to give my dad a spectacular trip, you know, and I did it. I was so proud. I was so proud of myself, and my dad was also proud of me. I was able to communicate things, you know, just like basic stuff, but also I fended for ours for myself, you
Yeah.
know. So I had my motivation, I had my discipline, and my routine was practicing until I didn't need it anymore. So I'm no longer studying
Got it.
Italian at least.
But well, I mean, that was your motivation, and that actually drove you to do it. And then it
Mhm.
makes you feel like the discipline there. It makes you like being constant on that, right?
Right.
So,
That those were part of
and
my
what about the
strategies.
habit?
My habit was practicing every day to to be able to communicate basic needs.
So, right now, no more habit.
No, the habit is gone. Of Italian, of learning Italian. I am learning Japanese very, very slowly. That's my
Whoa.
constant. That's my
But what about
constant, I would
Chinese?
say. Um, I I have motivation to learn Chinese, but I don't have the discipline to do it actively every day. My what if you want to go back to the topic of fluency, and I think the never-ending battle between fluency and accuracy, for
Yeah.
me, I listen to my students and I listen to my coworkers who evidently speak Chinese. I pay attention to what they're doing, to the context in which they're saying things, and then I just remember those phrases. Do not ask me to write or read something, but I can definitely communicate in Chinese.
Oh, that sounds really good
But
there, man.
there that doesn't come out of discipline. It's just a matter of observation. That's all.
Well, the thing is that you're in a country, so that's part of the immersion, you know. Even though you don't want to learn or not, you just listen to it and you just get it.
Hmm.
So that it's basically that's what happened there. That's really cool. Okay, Italian, and now you're learning Japanese. That sounds really
And
good.
yes, and it's I mentioned this before. I really like languages. I think one of my motivations, one of my life goals is to speak 5 languages before I kick the bucket. So
I think you
that's why
you
I'm
can do
interested.
it. So right now,
Give,
what languages do you really speak fluently then?
Oi! I speak
Oh
Spanish.
man. Well,
I'm so sad that listeners can't see, but I'm holding my dog in, and she understands English, by the way. We trained her in
oh,
English. Yes,
all right.
except for a treat, we don't say chicken, we say pollito. She likes pollito, chicken. I speak Spanish. Uh, I am from Chile,
English,
so English. I would say I speak English at a native level, but
definitely.
document won't say that. It's such a shame.
Well,
Uh,
well, that will actually opens Pandora's box there in education
uh,
or how the system actually works over here in Asia.
oh
That's
yes,
something that
it's
really triggers me. Don't get
me
me
too.
started.
Me
It
too.
really triggers me, man. Oh, no,
Mm,
no, no, no.
I don't want to make anyone look bad, but the system is broken and there's a lot of discrimination. So there's Spanish, English. I would say I cannot read. Well, I can read maybe like 10 Hanzi in Chinese. I can speak Chinese, not fluently, but I can get by a lot
Oh,
more than in Japanese.
oh, that's
And
pretty good.
I know a little bit of Italian because Italian for it's very easy to understand for those who speak Spanish. You
Definitely.
know, there's a
And
lot of
French as well, a little
overlap.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say French, but definitely Italian and what's the other one? Portuguese.
Portuguese. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
that's
a
pretty
lot of
good. I
overlap.
mean, what about your the level, the percentage actually of how you can speak or communicate in other languages? Let's say Italian, in percentages. How much can you speak there?
Um, I I
40?
don't know if I can do percentages. No, 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 definitely not. I
Okay.
would say Italian. Well, the thing is, reading it is very easy. Speaking it, I've come to understand that according to where you are, the dialect changes drastically. And you can say the same thing about Spanish in Chile. You can say the same about English in many of the seven speaking English countries, you know. But I mentally prepared myself to not understand, sorry, to be ready to not understand everything the way it should sound. So um, I'll give you an example. There's this show that I love called The Sopranos, okay?
Oh,
And
heard it.
in
All
this show,
right.
they talk about this cure meat called gabagool. And gabagool is a mispronunciation of the word capocolo or capocollo, capocolo, actually. So at some point in time, somebody mispronounced this word so much that it went from capocolo to gabagool, gabagool. And this is something
Whoa.
that you have to anticipate, you know. Chilean Spanish differs greatly from Spaniard Spanish, you know. Um, so I think
To
that's
the
also
whole to
very
the whole
important when you
region.
learn it to the whole region. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. To all the
So that I
from
would
all the
say
countries actually that speak
perhaps,
Spanish, Chilean Spanish is one of the ones that it's separated from the Spanish, the regular Spanish, I would
yeah.
say.
They
It's
say
pretty
it's
well
like learning in
documented.
hard mode.
Yeah, exactly. It is
I wouldn't
actually.
talk about percentages, but I in everyday life, I think I can talk about the weather. I can talk about things I need, I have, I want.
Let's go then, not percentages, but in CEFR. Let's say you're an A2.
Ah, I love CFR. I would say A2. Yeah, I would feel
Okay, a clear
confident with an
A2. That's
A2.
pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. All right. That
Yes.
sounds really good. And in Italian. And what's the other one? Ch
Chinese,
Chinese.
Japanese. No,
Chinese?
I wouldn't be able to tell you because I also don't know how they assess those. You know,
Yeah.
I'm confident with CFR, CEFR, but Chinese is a different story. And also Chinese, you have I live in Tianjin, so Tianjin has Tianjinhua or Dongbei I guess, and that changes drastically also according to where you're living. Um,
That's true.
for example, we don't when you say don't worry or no problem, you don't say 没事, you say 没事, and it has like an extra
The
R sound.
yeah.
Beijing,
It's just like
Baber.
like the Beijiner.
Yes, exactly. It's a, well, they're very close, so there's also a little bit of overlap.
Oh,
Um, so I
that's pretty
wouldn't be able
cool.
to assess, but I get by, you know. I'm able to communicate. The thing is with Chinese, it's different because
You need
um
perfection there. I would say you need a certain level of perfection there, because otherwise people won't understand. And if you're not good with the tones, that's it. Bye bye. Not
that's
even a
one
clue.
thing. And the second layer of complication of obstacles in communication when you're living in China as a foreigner is that you need a VPN to use Google Translate. And yes, there are other Chinese apps that help you translate, but they're not as accurate. So, and this is something whenever you go to to a grocery store, do you really want to be translating every 5 seconds? And so just you might as well learn a couple of words and phrases that you know for sure you're gonna use every day.
True.
That's what I'm talking about, you
Oh
know.
my God.
I want to talk
Yeah.
about a little bit about that. So when I came to China, it really feels like somebody dropping you off a helicopter, you know, and you're there fending for yourself.
One of the
But
Rambo movies or something like that. You just go to the
absolutely
jungle.
what I was thinking about.
Jesus.
It's just, but linguistically, basically. So
Yeah.
you only have a knife, which is, I would say, Google Translate. I was thinking about that because there are, I started thinking about how to learn a language, and for me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna learn five verbs that you should use every day. So I went, okay, I need the word need, right? Basic needs,
Yeah.
want, have, maybe buy, or I guess
Get.
don't want. So if you have like those five, I'm showing Mike my hand. If you have like a 5 point star, each point would represent one very important verb that you would need on your everyday life. And then after that, you can branch out and branch out and branch out. So that's how I decided to start learning languages. And for Chinese, it has helped me a lot.
So then that you were actually motivated to learn it, Chinese.
More than well, I needed the motivation to survive every day, but I would say my part at first I was taking notes and I was writing things. Right now I do everything by listening and repeating. And I ask my coworkers if what I'm saying is correct or not. But my point being is my strategy was to create like a what we call a word map or like a mind map and
Oh,
branch
man
out.
map. Yeah.
So think about the basic stuff that we teach our children. Colors is one of them, right? Then
Hmm.
after that, you go through probably animals or food. In my case, I don't need to talk about animals all day, but I do need to talk about food if you're going to go shopping for groceries. Then you want to branch out into flavors. If you're talking about your health, you can branch out on what kind of things make you feel bad or what parts of your body hurt.
Yeah.
This to me was a great strategy for learning languages. I'm still doing it, of course. I'm not a master, but I think it really helps you to understand the context, the words that you're going to need.
Yeah,
How was your
definitely.
experience?
In China,
Yes.
by learning
Did you came
Chinese,
like pre-ready? Did you learn trial by fire or were you?
that question that you're actually hitting on me, I cannot lie
I
to you, man.
figure
I cannot lie
a
to you.
lot of
No,
people must
it
have
was
asked you this
no,
question.
man, no. It's totally, it's another world. It's another world. That's how I describe it. It's another world. It's like actually just
Hmm.
taking a rocket and fly it all the way to Mars, landed there,
Hmm.
and create everything from zero. So this is
But
my
did you?
space. That's it. So the language was a really big barrier there. It was huge barrier,
Uh-huh.
first of all. Just to find out that the language itself, uh, it's not like Russian or Portuguese or Spanish or English, that you can actually just
Hmm.
maybe by listening to something, you can actually figure out a little bit like what the person is trying to say. But in Chinese, even you're trying to say something, you cannot even figure it out. Or people, even Chinese speaker cannot figure out what I'm saying, even though to my ears, it sounds exactly the same.
Mm, I
So
have
it was
had that
really hard.
experience.
It was actually really hard. Linguistically speaking, it's not actually good. It wasn't actually good. It was really hard.
Did did you have any strategies? What was your
No, no,
motivation?
no. My strategy, no, I didn't have any motivation to learn the language. First of all, I don't have it. I don't have the
Okay.
discipline to do it, and I don't want to create a habit. Why is that? Why is that? Because I just decided to do like this. All right, I'm in the country. Let's try to do this technique called immersion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm immersed here. I need it. So I need to learn by just watching and do exactly the same as I do. When in Rome, do as the Romans.
Mm-hmm.
That was my strategy there. And now I can actually speak a little.
That's great. So
That was
you've been in China for how many years? 8 years, I believe
five
you said
years.
once. No,
Five.
5 years. 5 years. Okay, that's pretty good. I like the idea that you can say I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it is hard. For your listeners, I think you must have a lot of listeners who are living in China that I know
Most of
because
the
of
listeners come are in the US, to be honest.
mm,
Let's say
well,
90% of them.
I wouldn't don't lick the mic. I don't want to discourage anyone from learning Chinese. I think it's a beautiful thing. Funny you should mention earlier about Russian. I don't speak Russian at all. Well, I can say a couple of words, a couple of phrases, but when I had a coworker who was going to substitute me because I was going to go to Chile for about a year, this coworker came from Russia. He was greener than me, meaning that he had less experience than me.
Mm.
And I really wanted him to feel at home at the place we were working in. So I learned to say like "Доброе утро, как твои дела?" Like "Good morning, how are you?" And he
Okay,
was very impressed. He's like, "Oh,
that's really good.
говорите по-русски. Do you speak Russian?" I said, "No, I don't
Yeah,
speak Russian, but I just wanted to say hello to you in your language, you know." I think that should be a very good motivation for everyone, you know,
definitely. No,
for
no.
everyone.
I don't want to actually discourage anyone either. I'm not saying actually to learn Chinese is pretty bad. I mean, but my
Hmm.
perspective, it was really hard because the way I actually came here, it makes me like it creates kind of a barrier to keep learning
Hmm.
or learn it. So I was like, no, that's it. I'm just gonna do it like this, immersion. That's it. Simple as that. I'm gonna learn by watching. That's it. I'm not saying it's a bad language. It's a total different language. It's a tonal language,
I
which
like
actually
it.
goes totally opposite to the languages that I speak.
Hmm.
And I cannot relate it to none of them. And just like that, we come to the end of today's journey, but not the end of our story. Today, we uncover so many truths about the power of habits, the beauty of consistency, and the little miracles that happens when we show up for ourselves day after day. And remember, language is not just learned, it's lived, it's loved, and it's felt with every fiber of our being. And as I always say, thank you for being part of this. And until next time, keep shining, keep learning, and never ever forget language is connection, language is freedom, language is love, and you are pure magic.